the house was always filled with music. The boys were influenced by the Mills Brothers and the Everly Brothers. And by the time Barry was 9 and the twins were 6, they were already singing in 3-part harmony.
There was quite a number of times when my parents and my sister would come in the room and wonder if the radio was on when we were doing that early stuff.
As pint-sized rock and rollers, Barry, Robin, and Morris performed frequently at local theaters. To adults in the 1950s, rock and roll was synonymous with trouble. And so were the brothers Gibb.
Barry and Robin were terrors. I mean, nothing stopped in their way.
Now when I think back, I feel really bad for my parents. Because if I'd have been my parents, I would have been pulling my hair out, you know. And my father had little enough as it was.
Robin especially was very naughty. He used to light fires all over the place.
Oh, yeah. You mean the flame?
He used to set hedges on fire. He'd light fires under the bed.
Yeah, I was a bit of a firebug when I was young.
We lit a little fire in the field next to the house and it spread. And it must have been in the middle of summer, but it spread all over the place.
I went to look for them because it was getting, bedtime. And I walked through the town and I saw all these fire engines and I thought, oh no, I knew who was behind it.
The police did come one day and said, look, it's a reform school, but they said it could end up to a point where you would have to go to court and be charged and be sent to the reform school if it got out of hand.
I think actually it was the Manchester police that sort of encouraged my mother and father to go to Australia, take them,
And he said, maybe it's time you thought about emigrating because maybe these kids, they need space.
So, in 1958, with newborn baby Andy in tow, Hugh and Barbara decided the family needed to make a fresh start.
I'd never heard of Australia, just a strange word to me, Australia, sort of Australia.
When you're 8 years old, 7 or 8 years old, it's an adventure. This is like, wow, I imagine like kangaroos going down the streets of Sydney and all these sort of adventurous place that we're going to go to, exotic, different,
Oh, amazing, adventure. Because that was what was in our spirit. That's why we were always getting into mischief. The idea of what's around the corner really was inside us. So the idea of going to Australia, we didn't even know what that was. But sounds good, let's try it.
The Gibbs settled in Queensland, a state in northeast Australia known for its sunshine, beautiful beaches, and the Great Barrier Reef. Hugh took a job as a photographer. He bought an 8mm camera, and the brothers immediately began making home movies.
I was filming them. I was always the guy behind the camera, because I've always been the technical one. Barry and Robin, I wouldn't go as far as to say that their videotape players are still flashing 12, but it's...
He's Gadget Man, yeah. Whatever's new, Morris had bought yesterday. He's that type of gadget freak, But you could see it in those days. His fascination with cameras, his fascination with 8mm filming. So in our very early home movies, the reason you see so much of Robin and me is because Morris is doing the filming.
The humour that we have is a very British sense of humour. And it's really been and always has been strongly influenced by Peter Sellers, Spike Milligan and Harry Seacombe. They made up The Goons, which was a BBC radio show when we were growing up.
And it was totally left field. They would come out with lines like, right men, are you ready? We leave at dawn tonight. And it'd be very quick and very sort of weird sort of sense of humour. It was a very dry English sense of humour. And we got into that big time. We loved it.
It's always been there and they always make you laugh. They bounce off one another. Just little things that can make it sound hilarious.
In Australia, the brothers continued their quest for fame. To achieve that goal, they would sing just about anywhere.
We always looked for the best toilets in town.
So we've worked in some of the best toilets, let me tell you.
We'd go and sing in there because of the echo. And there's a great one I remember in Pitt Street, Sydney. It was in the park, and it was a great echo, really long, and we sang these harmonies. They sounded like records.
In June of 1979, the brothers embarked on their first concert tour since the outbreak of fever.
Oh, it was fantastic, the whole experience. Of course, I don't like things in a mania stage. I like consistent, respectable success because then it's more manageable. But when when they get to a point like Fever had, it was kind of out of control a bit.
I mean, it was absolute craziness. And all the time we were sitting there, right, not thinking about the outside world. We were sort of like in our own little world.
The thing about the Bee Gees that people in the world don't know, which I always find terribly sad, is their terrific humour.
So we gotta get a message to you. 2, 3, 4, to love somebody.
But they were always up for a laugh, the boys. Anything, especially when we were on tour.
This is boring. I mean, the audience is not exciting as the last one.
It works in South Pacific.
Anything to ease that kind of monotony. And the humour really got them through a lot of the things, yeah.
He's back.
Nights on Broadway.
No! Out! Come on.
If they had not been singer-songwriters, they would have been wonderful comedians, the three of them.
How did you people get back here? Come on. Come on. Sorry. Excuse me. Move your way. You're going to pass? I'm sorry, you can't come in here. Get him out of here. You can't come in here. This is a private session.
But to go on stage and see the audience, and because that's the only way you can say thank you, really, is by going on stage live.
The emotional highlight of the Spirits tour came when brother Andy joined them on stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, our brother Andy.
Oh, wonderful. And he was at his height too. He'd made it as well. And so it was a wonderful feeling. Now those four brothers.
Andy Gibb had always wanted to be a Bee Gee. But because he was so much younger than his brothers, when he began his career in music, it was as a solo artist.
Do I have the date right, 1958, March 5th?
Oh, my birthday date.
And was it right?
Yes, it is.
My research is right. That makes you 25, 26 years old. Is that
25.
Is that an asset or a detriment?
And being so young?
Yeah.
Well, when I first had my hit record when I was 18, I mean, I don't know if that's when the first hits came out. It was definitely an asset, I suppose, because I appealed to so many young girls at that time.
It seems impossible, but I'm sure there's somebody out there who does not realize that you're a member of the Gibb family, three brothers who are reasonably well known throughout the world, the Bee Gees, Morris, Robin, and Barry.
Right.
Being their brothers, having them older than you, is that a help or a hindrance?
It was a great help, and it remains a great help. They always give me advice and everything I need, and I can draw from their experience.
You know what, I've never asked you this. Why didn't you become a Bee Gee?
It didn't happen because I think of the age difference. They'd grown up so much and spent so much time together, and I was just like the young little kid around their feet.
You enjoy being on your own?
Now being on my own?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm glad it didn't happen.
Andy was a chip off the old block. He was a young Bee Gee. And the first three songs that he released went to #1 in America, which were extraordinary. He idolised Barry particularly.
I would say that we were as much like twins as Morris and Robin. And we were very much alike. We looked alike, we had the same birthmarks. The difference was that I was taller than Andy. But the way we felt and the way we thought was almost identical.
In 1977, Barry had taken 19-year-old Andy into the studio and produced a string of enormously popular singles. Andy's success, coupled with their own, brought the brothers Gibb to new career heights.
It was the best thing you can hope for. All the brothers, enjoying themselves and being successful and working together.
Do you happen to remember a very, very special Bee Gees special of a few years ago? So I'll take you back to that night.
During the drum break, he actually said to me, "Can you believe this craziness? Can you believe it all?" And I thought, no. It's incredible, isn't it? And he said, "Man, I'll never forget this."